The narrow streets of Villers-Bocage erupted like a storm unleashed. The air cracked with the thunder of tank cannons and the sharp report of anti-tank rounds. Michael Wittmann, the legendary Panzer Ace, with over 100 kills to his name, gripped the edge of his tiger-eyes cupola. His eyes narrowed against the dust kicked up by the massive tracks of hull number 205 as it ground forward, its engine snarling through the rubble. The air was thick with tension, the metallic clang of shell casings, the whine of distant mortar, and the acrid bite of gunpowder. Wittmann's crew, a tight-knit band of SS veterans, operated with grim precision. They had just received hurried orders. A British column had pushed into the town, probing toward Hill 213, a key vantage point overlooking canvorwards. Wittmann barked over the intercom, his voice a sharp command. There was no time for reconnaissance. Surprise was their only ally in this Bocage hell. Adrenaline surged as his Tiger burst onto the main road, a 56-ton behemoth emerging from a side street like a mythical beast. Ahead, a British armored column from the famed 7th Armoured Division, the Desert Rats, was parked in a vulnerable line. Their crews were dismounted, brewing tea or checking maps, basking in the false security of the midday sun. Cromwells, half-tracks, and Shermans sat exposed, their flanks turned to the approaching threat. Wittmann's tactical mind raced. "Target the lead and tail. Trap them," he commanded. His gunner, Bobby Wall, swung the 88mm gun with lethal speed. The first shot boomed, slamming into a Cromwell at the column's head. The round punched through its thin armor, detonating the ammo rack in a spectacular fireball. Flames erupted, and black smoke billowed skyward. Without pause, Wall reloaded. The next target was a Sherman at the rear of the column. Another thunderous report, another inferno. The vehicle brewed up in seconds, its turret hurled aside like a toy. Panic gripped the British ranks. The Tiger prowled forward, its thick frontal armor shrugging off hasty, stunned return fire from the Cromwells. "Ransons." "Indeed," Wittmann muttered with a cold smile, using the German nickname for the flammable Shermans. One by one, he picked them off. A Cromwell command tank erupted under the 88M's fury. The half-track, laden with infantry, was shredded, men scattering like leaves in a gale, cut down by machine gun fire. In mere minutes, Wittmann's lone Tiger had created a graveyard of twisted metal and acrid smoke. Up to 14 tanks, anti-tank guns, and transports lay smoldering along the road. The Desert Rats, veterans of El Alamein, reeled in disbelief. Their advance had turned into a slaughter. Tiger in the town. "It's carving us up." Lieutenant Charles Pierce desperately radioed for support, but even as Wittmann's rampage unfolded, a new threat stirred in the shadows. From a concealed position in a side alley, Sergeant Joe Ekins of the 1st Northamptonshire Yeomanry peered through the sights of his Sherman Firefly. Its elongate 17-pounder barrel was steady, despite the pounding of his heart. They had all heard the legends of Wittmann, the Black Baron whose Tiger seemed invincible, but the 17-pounder in their hands was no ordinary gun. "Wait for the flank," his commander, Lieutenant James Balfour, whispered, his voice taut. They watched the Tiger advance, its side momentarily exposed. The battle was about to be turned on its head. The mocked Ronson was about to bare its fangs. The 17-pounder's report echoed like a thunderclap. The sabot rounds streaked out, striking Wittmann's Tiger on the track, shattering the links and immobilizing the beast in the middle of the road. Sparks flew as metal groaned. Wow shouted over the intercom as damage reports flooded in. Mobility was lost. Wittmann frantically swiveled the turret, searching for the source. But more Fireflies were now revealing themselves from the Bocage. Another round, this one from the 4th County of London Yeomanry, glanced off the Tiger's frontal armor, but the psychological blow landed hard. "They're piercing us," a German radio operator cried out, his voice breaking with fear. Chaos reigned. Stuka dive bombers descended, their Jericho trumpets wailing as bombs cratered the earth. Obeys Bonluc, from his command post a kilometer back, slammed his fist on the map table as reports poured in. He had anticipated easy pickings, but this modified Sherman changed everything. "Flankenangriff hit their sides," he ordered, dispatching Panzer Grenadiers to flush out the ambush. Mortar rained down as infantry clashes erupted in the close quarters of the British Tommies with Sten guns traded fire with Germans armed with MP. Sergeant Kent out in his Firefly named Bohm pivoted in a sunken lane, his tracks churning mud as he lined up a panzer for advancing through the smoke. The 17-pounder barked again, shredding the enemy's engine block in a geyser of oil and flame. "That's for the lads at Gold Beach," Tout yelled, his voice hoarse. Allied morale surged. Each German rack chipped away at the Wehrmacht's aura of invincibility. The one-Sargent panzer crews were now gripped by a creeping doubt that spread like wildfire. Trapped in his damaged Tiger, Wittmann directed covering fire as 2 more Tigers arrived to extract him. They blasted away at exposed British positions, but the Fireflies held their ground. In one legendary exchange, a Firefly from the Sherwood Rangers Yeomanry engaged a Panther at close range. The 17-pounders a PDS round bored through the mantlet and ignited the ammo, the explosion lighting up the afternoon sky. The battle dragged on for hours, a haze of smoke and fury. The British suffered heavy losses over 20 tanks destroyed, but they inflicted painful wounds on the Germans. 5 Tigers were knocked out, including Wittmann's, which was later abandoned. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows over the smoldering hulks, Von Luck assessed the carnage. His division had mauled the British advance and delayed the push on Caen, but the cost was staggering. Tigers and Panthers, the Reich's prized heavies, lay as gutted shells. Prisoners revealed the secret. The Firefly, a Sherman grafted with a British 17-pounder, capable of slaying giants. "We must adapt, target them first," Von Luck confided to his adjutant. But inwardly, the seed of doom took root. They had turned mockery into mayhem. The taste of cordite and sweat mingled with a hard-won elation. The road took and promised more blood, but a new question hung in the air. How long could the Germans hold against this fiery nemesis, and what desperate countermeasures were being devised in the shadows of the Reich? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more chapters from history.